Hey, what's up guys, and welcome back to a brand new video. So today I'm going to be giving you guys my predictions for Super Tuesday and who I think is going to come out with the most delegates. Now I'm glad I waited to make this video because there have been a ton of new developments amongst the Democratic candidates that really make things a lot more interesting. But before we go over those developments, let's see where things stand. So we have Biden and Bernie as the two front runners, with Bernie having a slim margin of 6 delegates at 60 compared to Biden's 54. Now this means that either of these two are still very much in play for the nomination and is going to be very competitive to see how the voting plays out on Super Tuesday. With that being said though, the biggest developments so far have been from Mayor Pete, Amy Klobuchar, and Beto O'Rourke dropping out and endorsing Biden. And this is just huge news for Biden. It's obviously to gather the moderate ring of the Democratic Party and put all of their support in one candidate as to not split the vote. Whereas Bernie, on the other hand, is still competing with Warren in the progressive lane, so the vote count might split there, letting Biden take a plurality of the delegates. That would be the ideal situation for Biden. So yeah, the best thing for Bernie would be to have Warren drop out and endorse him, but at this point, it's probably not going to happen. Whereas Biden, on the other hand, is in a much better shape now, as the moderate vote won't be split like it was for in Iowa, and it is still not a guarantee though that Pete's, Amy's, and Beto's voters will go to Biden, because the polling does not really explicitly show that Biden was their second choice, but at this point it's still better than remaining in the race for Biden. So yeah, this is once again another example of the Democratic establishment trying to stop Bernie. Bernie does have a lot of momentum still, so it's unclear how effective this move is going to be for Biden, but it's certainly the best case scenario for him going into Super Tuesday. So yeah, with that being said, that leaves only Bloomberg left. It's really unclear for him how effective he's going to be as a candidate, because this is the first time he's been on the voting ballot. But there's no doubt that, the exposure he's gotten from his ads is going to have some impact on the voting. But yeah, those are the developments so far and pretty much how things stand. But let's go through the list of the states, and then I'll give you guys my opinion on who is going to win each of the states. Okay, so starting off with Alabama and American Samoa, there's just a lack of polling here, so it's kind of hard to read how these places are looking. But Hillary won both back in 2016, so I don't think they're as prone to Bernie's progressivism. So I'm going to have to say that Biden is probably going to win these locations, just from the demographics of 2016. Now, Arkansas, on the other hand, has been hit heavily with Bloomberg ads. In the most recent polling, Bloomberg leads Biden by about 1 percentage point and Bernie by 4 percentage points, while he also leads among senior voters, whereas Biden, on the other hand, leads among black voters. So it's going to be a showdown between these two voting demographics. Yet, in my opinion, I do think Biden is going to win here based on his strong performance among blacks in South Carolina. So I think that's going to carry over into Arkansas, that momentum that he saw last time. So yeah, moving on to the biggest prize though is California with 415 delegates, and I would give this one to Bernie Sanders. He just has a heavy lead over most of the candidates in the state, and there's just a large progressive base throughout the state as well. In the most recent USA Today poll, Bernie has like a 19-point lead, so I would really just be shocked if anyone beats him there, and that would be huge for the Bernie campaign if they won California. Alright, so moving on to Colorado, again there's not much polling, but the most recent ones, which happened in late February, they have Bernie up with a 12-point lead, also strong for him. Bernie again won this state in 2016, so I think he has a strong chance again this time. So polling, he won it prior. I do think Colorado will go to Bernie. Alright, so moving on to the state of Maine, similar to Colorado, there's not been much polling, but the single poll released this year has Bernie with a 9-point lead. And again, like Colorado, he won Maine last election season. It has similar demographics to his home state of Vermont. So again, I would say Maine goes to the Bernie side. Now, if we stick in the Northeast, if we move to Warren's home state of Massachusetts, I think here it's going to be a split between Bernie and Warren. The most recent polls have him with a slim edge over Warren at about 2 percentage points, so it's not very big, but at the same time he is leading. And this will just be a great time for Warren to drop out and not split the delegates vote in Massachusetts. I bet though, if Warren does not win her home state, then she just needs to drop out, because her campaign is done. She finished 5th place in South Carolina, and I don't see why she's trying to split the vote with Bernie. But yeah, Massachusetts, it's going to either Bernie and Warren, but I would bet on Bernie. Alright, so moving on to Minnesota, this one is going to be very interesting. The most recent polls had Amy Klobuchar 6 points over Bernie, but now that she's dropped out and she's put all of her support behind Biden, I don't know if that's going to be enough to carry Biden to victory, or if that lets Bernie take the win here because he was in the second place amongst polling. With Amy out, he's going to win. So Bernie did win Minnesota in 2016 as well, so if I did have to put money into it, I will say I don't think Amy's bet is going to pay off, and I do think Bernie actually carries the state of Minnesota here. Alright, so the next state we're going to talk about, North Carolina, and this is really going to be really competitive for Bernie, Biden, and Bloomberg. It's all three of them here. So the most recent polls show a relative tie between the three, with some showing Bernie in the lead, others have Biden in the lead. But due to Biden's success in South Carolina, though, I do have to give this one to Biden, yet I don't think he's going to win by a large amount. I would be honestly not surprised if any of these candidates won it, but if I did have to place money, I would say Biden carries North Carolina. Oklahoma is next, and again, scarce polling in Oklahoma. The few polls there show a tight race between Biden and Bloomberg. It's between 1 percentage point, so again, like Arkansas, it's really anybody's guess. I personally, though, would have to say Biden because he's just more well-known than Bloomberg. Now, if we go to the state of Tennessee, the Tennessee Democrats are more moderate than their counterparts elsewhere in the country, so again, it's going to look like a Biden versus Bloomberg showdown. There has been little polling in the state of Tennessee, so it makes it much harder to see where the candidates stand, but again, between Biden and Bloomberg. So moving on to the next biggest prize behind California, that's going to be Texas. Now, Biden was leading earlier in the timeline, but Bernie now has surpassed him by about 5 percentage points in recent weeks. Beto O'Rourke did endorse Biden, but I don't know if that's enough to carry Biden to the finish line in Texas. Bernie, on the other hand, is getting a lot of support from the Latino community, so I do think that Bernie is going to actually carry the state of Texas as well. So yeah, if we move on to Utah, again, I'd have to give this one to Bernie. He's leading by a solid margin in the polls, and he also won this state against Clinton with 80% of the vote, so a huge margin there. And I think this round will be no different, and he's definitely going to add Utah to his collection. Now, if we move back to the Northeast, we have Vermont, and this is no surprise. It's going to Bernie. It's going to Bernie. It's his home state, and he absolutely crushed Clinton in Vermont with 86% of the vote. So again, another northeastern state to add to Bernie's list. And the last state we're going to talk about is Virginia. The voters here are more moderate. I don't think Bernie's going to win here, and instead it's going to open up the field for Biden and Bloomberg again. Now, the most recent polls have Biden up, though, over Bloomberg by about 5 points. Biden also received an endorsement from Senator Tim Kaine, so that would be good for Biden's campaign. So, yeah, I definitely think Biden is going to take the state of Virginia, but Bloomberg does have a shot because it is more moderate. But yeah, that's all the states overall. I see Bernie coming out on top. I would place my money on Bernie as having the most delegates out of the night, but I do think Biden has a good chance of still performing well and still staying relevant in the race. But yeah, guys, let me know your thoughts down in the comments below and who you think is going to win Super Tuesday, and honestly at this point, who you guys would put your money on for the nomination. But yeah, guys, with that being said, that brings this video to an end, and I'll see you guys later.